Elena Rybakina walked off a tennis court in Rome as a winner. Alex Eala walked off it with something far more dangerous, a memory she refused to let go of. 5 weeks later, on a different continent, on a different surface, that memory came back to collect. This is the story of 2 matches that turned into one question. Was Berlin an answer, or was it just tennis being tennis? By the time you finish this, you'll have to decide for yourself. Before any of this happened, Alex Eala was already a name that refused to stay quiet. 21 years old, Filipina, and rising in a sport that rarely lets outsiders climb fast. In 2025, she shocked the tennis world by knocking out a former world number 2 on her way to the semifinals of the Miami Open. That kind of run doesn't happen to unknown players. It happens to players who are about to become impossible to ignore. From there, the wins kept stacking. She took down a top 5 player at Indian Wells. She beat a top 10 opponent in Dubai. These weren't isolated flashes of brilliance, they were proof of a pattern. Alex had built a habit of stepping onto the biggest stages against the biggest names and refusing to blink. But there was one name still missing from her list of scalps: Elena Rybakina. If you know women's tennis, that name needs no introduction. A 2-time Grand Slam champion. A Wimbledon title in 2022. Heading into 2026, she'd added an Australian Open crown too, beating the world number 1 to claim it. She was ranked world number 2, armed with one of the most fearsome serves in the sport, a game built to overwhelm opponents before they ever found their footing. So when the draw finally placed Alex and Rybakina on a collision course for the very first time, it wasn't just another match on the calendar. It was a test. The kind of test that tells you whether a rising star's run through the top 10 is real, sustained proof of arrival, or a ceiling in disguise. First meetings between players like this rarely stay simple. There's a psychological weight hanging over them. Whoever wins doesn't just take the scoreline, they take something less tangible too. Ownership. A read on how the other competes when it matters. The opening chapter in what could become a long, repeated rivalry. Neither player would say that out loud, but both of them knew it. In May of 2026, on the red clay of Rome, that first chapter was written. Nobody in the stadium that night knew it wouldn't be the end of the story. It was only the beginning of one, because what happened next didn't just decide a match. It planted a seed. And 5 weeks later, that seed would grow into one of the most talked about wins of Alex Eala's career. Rome, the Italian Open, round of 32, late at night under the stadium lights. This was it, the very first time these two would share a court. Rybakina arrived red-hot, riding a wave of 30 wins that season and a Grand Slam title already in her pocket. Alex was the underdog stepping into unfamiliar territory against the player many considered the one to beat on tour. The match didn't go her way. Rybakina took it in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3. On paper, that's a clean, comfortable win for the higher-ranked player. Case closed. Nothing more to see. Except that wasn't the whole story. Because if you actually watched it, there was something buried beneath the scoreline. Alex didn't fold. She didn't get swept away the way lesser competitors sometimes do against a player of Rybakina's caliber. She made her work for every point. She showed the same competitive spine that had already toppled elite names before this one. The scoreboard said loss. The performance said something closer to a warning shot. That's often how these things go, isn't it? The first meeting between two players isn't really about who wins. It's about what each one learns about the other. Rybakina learned that Alex wasn't intimidated. Alex learned exactly what a top 2 player's game looked like up close, under real pressure, for the first time. There's a particular kind of sting that comes with a loss like that. Not devastation, but something quieter. A private kind of motivation. The sense of unfinished business. Athletes at this level rarely talk about revenge out loud. It isn't the language they're allowed to use publicly. But anyone who has competed at a high level knows the feeling. You don't forget the first time someone beats you. You file it away. Here's what makes this moment worth sitting with. In a sport as unforgiving as professional tennis, a single loss can either confirm every doubt about a player or become fuel. There's rarely an in-between. Some players shrink after a defeat like that. Others use it as the exact thing that sharpens them. Which one would Alex turn out to be? Because here's what nobody in that Rome stadium could have predicted: this wasn't the end of the story between her and Rybakina. It was chapter 1 of 2. And the sequel was coming faster than anyone expected. Just 5 weeks later, the draw would bring them back together. Different surface, different country, same 2 players, carrying the full weight of everything that had just happened between them. Rome had asked a question. Berlin was about to answer it. What Alex did in those 5 weeks is the part of this story that doesn't get told enough. She didn't sulk. She didn't slide. She caught fire. The clay of Rome gave way to the grass court swing, and something clicked into place. She went on an 8-1 run, capped by the biggest title of her career at a WTA 125 event, taking down dangerous, in-form opponents along the way. This wasn't a player limping toward a rematch. This was a player peaking at exactly the right moment, building a case, match by match, that Rome had been a moment, not a measurement of the real gap between them. And then the draw did what draws sometimes do. It delivered poetry. The Berlin Open, round of 16. Alex Eala versus Elena Rybakina again, only 5 weeks after their first meeting. Let that sink in. In tennis, rematches this quick between 2 players, especially 2 players standing at such different points in their careers, simply don't happen often. This wasn't a sport where rivals collide dozens of times a season. This was a second meeting inside 5 weeks, on a completely different surface, with a challenger arriving in the best form of her career. That's the kind of matchup that gets circled the moment a draw is announced. You could feel the framing shift before a single point was played. Rome had been about whether Alex could compete with Rybakina. Berlin was being asked a very different question. Had she closed the gap? The narrative had evolved, and so had the stakes. For Rybakina, there was something to protect. She was still world number 2, still a reigning Grand Slam and Tour Finals champion, still one of the most dominant servers in the game. Losing to Alex in Rome hadn't happened. She'd won that one comfortably. On paper, there was no reason to expect anything different this time. But tennis doesn't run on paper. It runs on momentum, on form, on the invisible psychological math that resets every single time 2 competitors step back onto the same court. And Alex wasn't walking into Berlin as the same player who'd lost weeks earlier. She was walking in on an 8-match winning streak on grass, with a title freshly in hand. So when the draw pinned their names together again, it wasn't just another second-round matchup. It was a sequel with real tension behind it. The kind that makes you lean forward before the first serve even lands, because everyone watching knew that whatever happened next on that court was going to say something. The only question left was what? June, Berlin. And for a while, it looked like Rome all over again. Rybakina came out exactly the way you'd expect from a player with her weapons. Fast, aggressive, in total control. She raced to a 4-1 lead in the opening set. If you were watching live, you'd have been forgiven for assuming you already knew the ending. Same script. Same result. This is the moment where everything could have gone one of 2 ways. Think about what a deficit like that actually feels like from the other side of the net against someone who has already beaten you once. It isn't just about the score. It's about the doubt creeping in, the voice whispering that you already know how this ends. Momentum in tennis is brutal that way. Once it swings hard in one direction, it takes something extraordinary to drag it back. This is exactly where the story could have quietly ended the way everyone expected. A gritty effort. A respectable scoreline. A tough draw narrative to wrap it all up. Nobody would have blamed her. Nobody would have called it a surprise. But Alex refused to let that be the story. Instead of unraveling, she studied. Instead of the gap widening, it began closing game by game, not through one dramatic swing, but through an accumulation of small, stubborn refusals to fold. Down break point late in a service game, most players tighten. Alex found an ace instead. Facing a set point on Rybakina's own serve, most players start bracing for the loss. Alex didn't blink. Rybakina had to save the danger herself with a forehand winner. And still, Alex kept coming. This is the part that separates a competitive loss from a genuine statement. Clawing back a 4-1 deficit against a 2-time Grand Slam champion isn't about one lucky game. It's about sustained pressure, point after point, with the fear of a second straight defeat sitting there the entire time. Alex closed that first set 7-5. Read that again, and remember where it started. Rybakina up big, cruising, looking every bit like the world number 2 who had dismantled Alex in Rome. And yet the set ended with Alex's name next to the win. She wasn't done. The second set delivered one of the true signature moments of the match, a rally where Rybakina, one of the most powerful ball strikers on tour, fired a forehand with real venom behind it. Alex didn't just get it back. She redirected it on the rise, cross-court, to set up a crucial hold. It was proof of exactly how far she'd traveled since Rome. She wasn't just surviving points against a champion anymore. She was creating them. Rybakina, to her credit, didn't go quietly. She saved break points. She held to stay alive, forcing Alex to serve out the biggest win of her season under real pressure. And when the score tightened deep in that final game, the kind of moment where a career's worth of nerves comes rushing in all at once, Alex answered with another ace. 2 points later, it was over. Alex Eala had beaten the world number 2. Her reaction wasn't calculated or rehearsed. It was raw disbelief at what she'd just done. And when asked directly about facing Rybakina again, her answer was honest in a different way. She spoke of tight moments in both sets, of respect for an opponent she called the one to beat, of gratitude simply for sharing the court with her again. No mention of revenge. No dig at Rome. No talk of payback. There's something almost humbling in that response, because it suggests this was never really about settling a score with someone else. It was about proving something to herself. So was this revenge? Maybe not in the way sports headlines like to use the word. But was it a message? Almost certainly. 5 weeks earlier, Alex Eala walked off a court in Rome having lost in straight sets, carrying a defeat that could have quietly defined the ceiling of her season. Instead, she turned it into fuel. And on the grass of Berlin, in front of a crowd that watched her erase a 4-1 deficit against one of the best players alive, she delivered her answer, not in words, but in the scoreline. That's what makes this rivalry worth watching from here. Not manufactured drama. Not bad blood. Just 2 elite competitors, early in their history against each other, each now holding a win. Whatever chapter comes next carries more weight than the first 2 combined. Was Alex Eala's win in Berlin truly a message to Elena Rybakina? Or is this simply what happens when 2 brilliant competitors collide twice in 5 weeks, and we're the ones reading a rivalry into it? Either way, the story isn't finished. It's only just getting interesting. The story doesn't end in Berlin. It just goes quiet for a while, the way all great rivalries do between rounds. Because now both players carry something they didn't have before Rome. Rybakina carries the memory of a lead she couldn't hold, a 4-1 cushion that evaporated against a player she was supposed to handle easily. Champions don't forget that kind of collapse. They study it, they fix it, and the next time these 2 meet, she won't be caught off guard by what Alex is capable of. Alex carries something different, proof. Not hope, not potential, but hard evidence that she can trade blows with the best player in the world and win. That kind of belief changes how an athlete walks onto every court after it, against everyone, not just Rybakina. 2 matches. 2 winners. 1 rivalry still being written. The next meeting won't be a first test or a statement match anymore. It'll be a rubber match, and everyone will already know exactly what both of them are capable of. That's when this story really begins.